Hello, everybody. Thank you all for coming. My name is Lynn Drinkwater, and I am the Senior Enrichment Center Program Coordinator. And I really appreciate all of you coming today. There was over 20 people signed up to attend this video and presentation today. And so I'm sure they'll be coming in as we're watching. Last week, I know it's confusing, we had a program that started at 1:30. So I imagine they'll be trickling in. But the good news is, since it's live streaming on our YouTube channel, it will automatically record. And so when they come in, they'll be able to watch the first half an hour or whatever it is that they miss, kind of like in the olden days when you go to the movie theater and you go watch a movie and halfway through and then you stay until it starts again. I don't know if you guys did that, but I know I did that as a kid. Anyway, so I wanted to thank the businesses in the back for coming today and sharing their information, as well as the caregiver support group meeting. Lindsay Simmons here. So they all have wonderful information for you. So I hope you visit each table and speak with them. And then we're very proud to present Dana Williams from the Alzheimer's Association to come and give this presentation for us. And so I just wanted to welcome her. And I also wanted to talk to you guys. If you have never met Alvita Person, Alvita, please wave your hand. She is what we call our family caregiver advisor. So she works here along with me at the Moore County Department of Aging. And if there's any questions that you have regarding assisted living, regarding nursing homes, any kind of questions you might have, even out of state, out of county, Alvita is our one-stop shop for that kind of information. She has resource guides. She has information on long-term care directories, low-income senior apartment complexes, you name it, she has it. And if she doesn't have it, she will find it for you. So anyway, I just wanted to have a little shout out there to Alvita. And so here comes Dana, and thank you all so much for coming today. So you can either hold that or we can put it in there, whichever is best for you.
Okay. Hi guys, my name is Dana, and as Miss Drinkwater said, I'm with the Alzheimer's Association North Carolina, so bear with me because this is my first type of presentation for the Alzheimer's program. I have worked in aging care since I was 16, and I still do this part-time, but right now I do full-time teaching 8th grade science in Anson County. So thank you and welcome to our Living with Alzheimer's Disease program for our care partners. This is really to address some of the housekeeping issues. It's designed to provide care partners with the knowledge they need, the tools and strategies to cope with a diagnosis of Alzheimer's disease and related dementias. So we know that there's multiple stages. Some people like to call them, have 7 stages, but we're going to kind of go with early, middle, late stages. And at any given time, we have people that seem like they fit every category, and it's kind of hard to place sometimes. So sometimes you may be in an early stage, and you may be showing signs from day to day of having middle stage and early stage and so on. So anytime it's just kind of working with that person and seeing. So that's kind of how we address it and go by. So we kind of go by early, middle, and late stages for our Alzheimer's disease. Each and every individual is different. What they experience is different. Every caregiver is different. How they experience is different, and making sure we have the coping skills we need to handle and address these issues as we work together will be what will help us stay at home healthier longer, have a better quality of life, and retain the most dignity and sense of self that we can. So moving on to our next slide, we have some objectives that we're going to be going over. This PowerPoint is a 3-part series. So some of our objectives is describing the symptoms of early stages of Alzheimer's, explaining legal, financial, and resource plannings that need to be done in early stages, defining the components of care teams, describe how to successfully work with each component during the early stages of the disease, because making sure you go ahead and have that established care team is going to be something that really helps you along the way, having that support system, having people you can rely on. The next thing that I want to address is we're going to be using the term care partner. I'm going to sit this down because I'll be moving this too much. care partner. So we like to use care partner because they are your partner. They're working with you, whether that is family, friend, spouse. Um, that's kind of like your partnership with the person with dementia, Alzheimer's that you are taking care of. And it'll help establish a way that you can discuss issues and make decisions and create plans together. Um, so that's what the term we'll be using. Let's see here. Move on to the next slide. Okay, so understanding dementia. This is part one of our PowerPoint. So dementia is a general term for a group of brain disorders that affect your thinking, memory, judgments, personalities. These are things that kind of show or present right off. A lot of people may have personality changes, loved ones, caregivers. You'll notice personalities may change. They may be more sensitive, maybe more overwhelmed, maybe happier, laughing outbursts, different things of that nature. There are many different types of dementias. So we have Alzheimer's disease, vascular dementias, mixed dementias, Lewy bodies, frontotemporal dementias. So each one of these affect a different part of the brain, and it's kind of different how that person will respond or react um, once it starts making its way. Let's see here. Okay. So, dementia, I'm sorry. I'm used to whenever we have a clicker, I can click it, so I'm a little. But dementia is a general term for a group of brain. Um, sorry, Lord, brain disorders. Um, as we said, it affects memory, thinking, behaviors. It is not a normal part of aging. So, as we know, as we age, we typically age pretty normal. Not many things should change as we age. We should still be able to carry out the same things we always do. So we should not have to struggle with remembering things, remember to do things. And I know a lot of people say old timers or stuff like that when it's not typically a normal stage of aging. It's something we should try to address. Memory, thinking, behaviors is all not normal whenever you have something abnormal happening out of your normal, okay? Symptoms do vary among everybody. Everybody's different. Everybody experiences different symptoms. And not everybody will experience the same symptoms. So if you have a symptom list that you're looking at and you're checking off and they don't hit all of them, that doesn't mean anything. Everybody experiences different. So what happens with this disease? It leads to nerve cell death. So that is tissue loss throughout the brain, and it affects pretty much all its functions. And it has a course of time, and each one has a different time frame of how it will affect you and how long it will affect you. We can go on to slide 5. So this is some of the FDA-approved treatments that we have right now. Some of these pretty much only address some of the symptoms that you have. The treatments work in varying degrees and are not effective for everyone. You need to make sure you always talk to your doctor whenever it's considering treatments and discuss potential side effects. We also offer trials now where you can be matched with a trial that'll be best for you or your doctor may think is best for you. And the Alzheimer's Association has a trial match that you can use if you are ever interested in that. I will have some of this stuff posted at the end of the PowerPoint along with a helpline if there's any other questions. If there's questions I can't address immediately, we also have a helpline. And I'm sure any of the lovely ladies in the back will be able to help answer anything if I'm not sure right off. So, Alzheimer's is a disease of the brain that causes problems with memory, thinking, behavior. It's not normal parts of aging. Alzheimer's gets worse over time. And most people with Alzheimer's disease will have the late onset type, which occurs in those over the age of 65. But there are some people, outliers, that have symptoms starting before the age of 65. That is a smaller number of people who have younger onset Alzheimer's, though. When we think about early stage Alzheimer's, the initial part of the disease is with memory and with personality changes, kind of with thinking and concentration as well. You may get lost by accident, not sure what happened. They have progressed beyond the early stages by the time they usually receive a diagnosis, though. So a lot of times people need more help being coached or told, because a lot of times people think of aging and they're like, oh, that's normal. That's normal. And they kind of just play it down and off-put it, when you should start going ahead and having that conversation early, so you know if you're looking at is normal parts of aging or abnormal parts of aging. So, and we all know are normal. And typically family does too. They can typically notice and tell, and if they do start to question or wonder or ask how the person is doing and it comes to take offense, we sometimes need to kind of readdress our approach and reapproach it in a different way, so the person doesn't feel attacked, because we like our sense of dependency. We have our independency. We like to make sure we can take care of ourselves. We don't depend on other people, especially when we get older. We are the caretakers. So that is something that is a little touchy topic sometimes and has to be readdressed in a very specific way, so it's not stepping on any toes or making them feel less. So we will always want to keep that dignity intact. Um, let's see here. Many people in early stages typically need minimal assistance with simple daily routines. Driving can become impaired during this time, so that's a symptom that could happen. As the ability to complete household tasks can become an issue sometimes, so we may have trouble carrying out tasks that are typically something we can do. Making a recipe that we've known all our lives, these behaviors gradually need to assume greater responsibility on somebody else or need a little bit more guidance. We always like to start with guidance, or making sure we tell the person the steps or helping the person through it in a gentle way that kind of helps with managing them and still giving them their sense of independency. We can move on to slide 6. Some of the early stage symptoms, we've discussed our memory changes, the changes in executive functioning, so those normal tasks that we do, any ADLs, activities of daily living, showering, brushing teeth, making sure we take our medications, making sure we eat breakfast at the right time, difficulty reasoning and abstract thinking. So sometimes that abstract thinking that we kind of get as we grow up, unlike my 4-year-old daughter who has some abnormal ways of thinking, she'll, kind of starts to revert back in a way. So sometimes we have a harder time with those ideas that's not as easily tangible. Difficulty with language and ability to communicate, especially people with multiple languages. They may go back and forth between languages, may forget certain parts, and may just go back to their first language, with ability to communicate, and also forgetting words, stuff of that nature, like I've been doing today. So I'm super sorry about that. Impaired judgment. Impaired judgment is a big thing. So a lot of times this can do with driving, cooking, different decisions like that can cause stoves to catch on fire. Losing your track of time is also an issue that comes with confusion, losing your track of time, place, kind of getting lost when driving. Difficulty with visual spatial relations, withdrawal from work or social activities. You're not getting the same enjoyment. You don't feel that enjoyment no more. You'd rather be at home. You don't want to be out. That's kind of go with your personality changes that you may face as well. If you're generally an outgoing, driven person and now you're having a harder time wanting to leave the house and do things independently without having somebody come with you, is a big indicator as well. So let's see here. We can go on to the next slide. So when we see this, we can go on ahead because my video links don't work. They just show up as pictures for some reason. So we're going to kind of skip through these. But this kind of goes over some of our people who have started experiencing early symptoms and how they addressed it and how they dealt with it. And it was a hard time for them, as always. So we can go on to the next slide for this. And we can go on again. There we go. So developing a new normal is kind of a thing to do. When you first get that initial diagnosis or you start having those changes, it's really hard to accept. We have many people that automatically want to come to long-term care or come to a memory care unit. And then we have people who want to stay at home as long as possible. What is the ultimate goal? We want to stay at home as long as possible. We want to stay healthy as long as possible. We want to have the resources we need to stay at home as long as possible. So accepting that diagnosis, having a family that's supportive, friends that's supportive. If you don't have immediate family or friends, making sure you have that support system there with you, making sure you identify that early on is something that's super important with your care team. Making sure you start making your plans for the future, although sometimes they seem grim and bleak and they kind of make you feel bad to think about. It's easier to start doing that early on when that person can give more of their opinion, more of their weight, and it's easier. It's an easier process when you can go ahead and have all parties involved fully and make the best decisions early on, and making sure you do live each day to the fullest. So taking control of everything, making sure you still do the things you like to do, enjoy getting out there, still doing your brain games, your activities, working out, staying involved, cooking, going out with friends, helping keep that younger mindset and that mindset that you have, which is things you enjoy, can help you kind of have a better outcome when it comes to that. Um, so when we do have this start happening and our family start to notice, and they notice a variety of symptoms early on, especially starting with that memory loss as one of those main symptoms, it kind of will help us where to get started, start asking the right questions, get connected to the right people, and from there we can get everything started so far. And I know this sounds like a lot of information, and it is, but bear with me a little bit, and we can move on. That would be great. I'll message Karen about this right after and see if I can get those for her. So, it should keep going. Pull up more. There we go. Oops. Okay. So when we go to accepting the diagnosis, we see that success means that you have found a way to be happy within the confines of this disease. Um, we can accept that future plans will change. There may need to be changes made. They may need to be big changes. They may need to be minor changes. They don't always have to be great big changes, but it may be something out of your comfort zone. Being able to accept your feelings, have your time to grieve, have your time to reason and understand what's going on with you is something that is super important. Taking that time for you and giving you that self-care and your partner that self-care, whoever your care partner is. Time to accept what's going on, understand what's going on, because even though it is a battle with the person with the diagnosis, it will be a battle with the person who is the care partner, the caregiver, because they will have to go through this and process this as well, because it's usually your loved ones that care for you that need to have time to process this. And it is a learning experience for the both of you as you go on. So making sure you give yourself time, your care partner time, kind of helps with working through this and can help build stronger relationships and comfortability in the decisions that you're making, and the decisions that you will make as time goes on. We can go to the next slide, which is a video. It's discussing Kitty's husband deal with their diagnosis with Alzheimer's and how they dealt with it, the time they took. This is going to be discussing you and the person with dementia, as again, we use dementia as an umbrella term. So we work as a unit, so we monitor shifts and function, prepare for appointments. You choose a time together. You go with them, you support them, you listen, you take notes. If they have questions, you let them ask their questions, you let them do the talking for themselves. If there's something that you need help with or your care partner needs help with, then you'll have that care partner come to help address things that you may not be able to quite address or explain yourself if you can't quite find the words. discuss those changes that happened, noting questions, concerns, reviewing the care plan as a team, so making sure everybody is on the same page. You want to make sure that everybody's on the same page together. You don't want no confusion. If you have an multidisciplinary team and you have more than one person working with you, if you were at home and you have home care people coming in and you have a doctor that may come in, you want to make sure everybody's on the same page. Okay? So that is something that really helps is keeping it coherent, and you want to make sure there's an open understanding and open communication as well. So you want to make sure you voice the same concerns and questions to each person, and you want to make sure you let them know how you expect to be addressed and treated at the same time. So you never be too afraid to voice your concern or problems or issues, and make sure your questions are heard and that you're not being dismissed or dismissed. Because this will be your new normal and this is what you will be working with. We can go to the next slide. There may be another video. Yeah. Okay. So communication skills, we just discussed communication skills. That was part of the second video that wasn't going to play right. But you and the person with dementia, so we will optimize the person's sense of well-being through physical exercise, which is one of the best ways to help. Physical exercise gets you out of the house. It makes you feel good. It makes you feel better about yourself, whether it is actually working out, gardening, walking, things of that nature. Mental stimulation is awesome. You never stop learning. Learn all you can, while you can, as long as you can. Making sure you have that mental stimulation, whether it's reading some of your favorite types of books, discussing issues of interest, playing different games, anything that can make you mentally stimulated can really help. It helps slow down the process. Social interaction, maintaining contact with friends, family, and community. Don't stay isolated. Don't become a hermit. Still get out there. There's a lot of people that feel it is a burden whenever you have somebody you're caring for, or you as yourself as a care partner. You don't want to do things. You may not want to do things. You don't want to be questioned about things. You don't want to have to explain things. But the important thing is to continue to have that social interaction, because the social interaction, the connections you make, and the people you talk to helps keep everything open. You have more experiences to the outside world instead of being isolated to one area at your house. And that is a very big important thing, is making sure you have that social interaction, because social isolation is detrimental to the normal person. Whenever we was going through COVID, we still are, and our long-term care facilities became locked off and we could not have visitors and stuff. It was a very hard time, and our people who did not have these cognitive declines suffered from that and would start experiencing some form of cognitive decline and emotional distress. So social interaction is a very important part of this. We can move on. And I'm sorry, my voice is shaking. Well, the right thing. Let's see here. So, care partner teams are more successful at navigating healthcare systems when you have a record that you keep, whether that is handwritten or you keep it all compiled in a folder or a binder, and you keep those and you bring them with you to each doctor's appointment so you can keep up with changes, anything going on, whether it's medications, therapies, anything that your care plan or care coordinator has helped you with, making sure that you can try to always be present for these appointments and continue to ask questions and take notes. So some of those are the most important things. And I say everything's the most important thing, but a lot of these things are, and it's a lot of information. So we can move on and go again. I'm sorry about this. This side's got a lot of videos. So the care partners role. So when we're looking at ourselves as care partners, we have to be the one that encourages them. We are their person. We are their companion. We are their supporter. We are their planner. We help them manage their money, and we are their advocate. When they cannot ask questions or keep up for themselves, we are the persons that can do this. And we always want to make sure we understand what advocacy is, because we want somebody to be able to advocate for us when we cannot advocate for ourselves. So with that being said, And this is particularly important for somebody with dementia, Alzheimer's, but it's important for anybody that's not able to make their decisions or be present for these decisions, because you want somebody to be able to be that for you. So you want to make sure you understand your role as a care partner to help your partner. Um, and go on. The multiple roles we have is just making sure we are able to cope with the symptoms, help the person with dementia stay independent, and that helps us cope as well as them, because when we feel like we're losing our sense of dependency, sometimes we become a little mean, we're a little grumpy, and sometimes that kind of progresses us in a worse way than what we need. Um, and a lot of these things that we do, normal things that we do now, making notes, using your calendar, staying organized, assist without offending. So don't tell, you know, guide. We do a lot of guidance or maybe redirection. Um, Especially early on, I've had some people in stage one early on where they kind of start wandering a little bit. They may go off to do something and they may not quite remember what they were going to do. And then you kind of get agitated. And sometimes you have to kind of redirect and try to figure out what they was going to do, what they were about to do, and kind of do it in a way without offending them, but just kind of being helpful and just being that guiding hand there to help. And making sure you talk to them with dignity. Do not talk to them as children, because they are not children. They are grown. They have that grown mentality still. They may not know what they were about to do, but they know they're not a child, and not to talk to them like that. Even in the later stages as they do progress, you want to treat them with dignity and respect and not baby them, not the baby talk. Um, Treat them as there is. Now, sometimes there's that relationship between people where they are babied, and I understand that, but sometimes there's a boundary between being babied and talking to your loved one a certain way and talking down to them as an infant kind of thing or a child. So we got to make sure we see that line there so we are not offending them and upsetting them and making them feel like they don't have their sense of self anymore. Um, we can go on. Staying active, that's a great thing. It's really helps. Tips for helping that person stay active is, I mean, there's a big motivation thing. If they want an active person before, it may take a little bit of motivation to keep them active now. There's some people that I know that has swept their yard until they're 102, or raked their yard till they're 102 and love her to death. Some people don't slow down, and making sure they can keep up with these routines within reason and having supervision and kind of standing back so they have that independency um, kind of helps. So that kind of goes to modifying those activities to match the abilities that's going on right now. So you may be there, but you may be letting them do their own thing, but you're kind of hanging back watching them, making sure everything's going okay. Or if you have a caregiver that comes in to help relieve you, make sure they understand the same thing and the same roles and what you expect of them, because every caregiver comes in with a different mentality and some people may come in different. And it's very important to also make sure you can give yourself a break and still get out by yourself and do things independently of yourself as well as a caregiver. So it is okay to take that break and step back and still be the independent person that you are. Um, Making sure you do focus on unique strengths and health interests, whether that is wanting to read, crocheting, cooking, baking, getting out in the community and volunteering, because even though we still have a diagnosis, that doesn't mean we have to stop doing things that we enjoyed or were stimulating to us before. Um, Making sure we can continue to adapt activities. So if we need extra help or extra guidance, we talk to the right people, whether that's PT, OT, your doctor. You figure out a way to adapt activities to help you over time, or these activities that you need to continue to work. And make sure you plan rest periods so you're not overstimulated. You don't want to go all day long because that's not good for anybody. We don't like to go all day long as we are, so we want to make sure we rest. When we come home from work, come home from doing something, we like to sit down and rest. And make sure we concentrate on the process and not on the result. So if we're always focusing on the result, we're going to drive ourselves crazy. So we want to just make sure we keep up with the process and do the same thing and just keep up with it as we go. Because that's the important thing, is having that what is the word I'm looking for? Well, we're going to use process, but making sure we have that routine, doing the same thing and not just focusing on the end result. We can go to the next stage. Slide. Closeness can be enhanced by, so we are looking at maintaining closeness and intimacy, which is something that many people struggle with when they start having this diagnosis, because it can be worrying. You're wondering how it's going to affect you, your partner, your spouse. Do you still feel like yourself? How do you feel like yourself? We never lose that need for intimacy, no matter how old we get. Everybody needs that intimacy, whether it's just sitting beside that person that you care for, holding hands, doing something that you like to do or used to like to do with your partner. Um, Loving words, expressions, touch, stuff like that. The ability to feel connected is something that really helps us as we age, especially as we go through this process. Um, this diagnosis can be tough, and we may think that we're going to lose affection for that person, when in reality, most of my people that I've taken care of or dealt with have still had that affinity, even in late stages, for their partner or spouse, and miss them or want to be with them and be able to feel that connection to them because we're strangers. Um, Physical expressions of closeness, holding hands, being with each other, and a shared understanding for what is going on around you and with you in your relationship is very important, for people with Alzheimer's disease. Um, Being able to feel that connection through that verbal and physical communication is a little altered, and we understand that it may be a little different, but that doesn't mean we cannot learn and adapt with our new diagnosis and our new normal. We can build ways around it, and the relationship may change, but that's what we want. We're always changing. We want to be able to maintain and grow together with this diagnosis. So as the disease progresses, families will need to find like new ways of communicating, feeling close, and couples will have to do the same thing, face their changes, address these issues with each other, and continue to have gentle reminders of the relationship, the connectedness, the love that they have for each other. And let's see here. Oh yeah, as we discussed issues directly, taking care of yourself, support system. And when we come to intimacy, such as sex, some people with dementia may feel less interested in sex, while others may feel more interested in sex. And the partner that you have that is experiencing these changes may feel many new emotions, may not know how to handle or address them, or may not know how to kind of work through them. And this can kind of result in that fear of loss of intimacy, how this will affect the relationship, anger and guilt about the situations, not being able to focus on their own needs, but and being embarrassed that they want to be able to focus on their partner's needs as well, and feel worried about that. So making sure you keep that connection open, that communication open, and understanding each other will help you still have that connected feeling and be able to address these issues and grow together and keep that sense of intimacy and keep that relationship feeling stable and secure. Um, we can go on to the next slide. Your role makes easier. So tips for coping: asking for and accepting help from others, sharing your feelings, making sure you're in a zone where you're not going to be judged. You want somebody to listen to you without judgment, because this is something that's hard to deal with. It's a new experience for you. Other people may go through this experience, but this experience is unique to you. Your feelings are unique to you. And while there may be similarities to other people and other stories and civic support groups have raised, you need somebody that can listen to you and hear you and understand you as well, so you can get through this and work through this and cope through this, so you can be the best care partner that you can be. Communicating that you will be there for them, making sure you let them know that you are there for them, that you will advocate for them, that you love them, that you care for them. Making sure you work as a team, so whoever is working with you, if you're working by yourself, with family, friends, or if you're working with a care team, making sure that you work together and everybody's on the same page and same understanding. Experience these moments together. Do not let the person go through it alone, but still continue to do things that you enjoy and that you enjoyed before. And whether it's not just doctor's appointments, but still going out to eat, it's still going to a trip that you enjoy going, taking life and still enjoying those moments. Um, Making sure you determine what really matters is very important. You want to make sure you are looking at the things that really matter and try not to stress out about things you cannot control, and do it now. Decide that this is what's important. Y'all decide together what's important, what needs to be handled, what needs to be addressed, whether that is something fun, whether that is a tough decision to make, and make sure you go ahead and do it. And redefine your intimacy. Make sure you can continue to change and adapt as your relationship changes and adapt as the disease progresses. Um, let's see here. We can go to the next slide. And that was the end of our part 1 PowerPoint. And it is a lot of the information as of right now. Like I said, we want to make sure we can solve problems together, kind of experience the moments, go with the flow, do it now, and kind of share our feelings in a non-threatening, gentle way. We have some, I might have to get it pulled up for our website and our helpline, but as of right now, when we're taking a break, does anybody have any questions or concerns that they would like to voice? Oh yeah, part 2 is a little bit of a shorter PowerPoint, so we could probably go ahead and pull that up. And I think at the end of my part 2, I swear I've got the slide with our website helpline trial match on. So for the last little bit of time, we've got around 40 minutes left. We have a couple slides we can go through with part 2. So we will look at additional parts of the team that you will be working with to get information care throughout the early stages of the disease and beyond. We'll talk about working with your health team, things you need to address, stuff you need to disclose when you're looking at your diagnosis, especially within your circle of friends, family, any kind of work issues if you're continuing to work, because many people still work through their early stages. They don't let that be something that is a defining thing for them and stop them. And kind of look at the community resources. We have these lovely ladies back here. As I'm not from West End, I'm from Anson County. I'm not directly familiar with your community resources, but it looks like y'all have some awesome resources that are available to y'all down here. So with that being said, we can get started. We can go to this next slide. So we are looking at the next level of care team. And these are made up of our healthcare professionals. So we have physicians, nurses, pharmacists, social workers, hospitals, community clinics, person with the Alzheimer's disease, and the care partner. That is our healthcare community. These are our people that typically work together. The physician is those who made the diagnosis. Those that are in the office are nurses who we get awesome relationship with. Our nurses are some of our backbones and or some of the people that first hear what's going on with us and understand what's going on with us and can help advocate for us too. They are crucial members of our healthcare team. So building that relationship with your physician takes time. It can be hard to establish trust with a new doctor or new physician that will be helping deal with and handle your diagnosis. So making sure you're able to build those relationships in office is great, very important. But it does take time and it does take effort, and it has to be a two-way thing. So you work with your physician works with you. It has to be respectful and it has to be open communication. Never be afraid if you feel like after a while that physician is not the right person for you or you do not feel heard. You find somebody or reach out to somebody that you feel like will hear you and help address those issues and not just dismiss you. Because sometimes people are like that and they may not understand or know exactly how to address it even if they do directly work with it. Sometimes we need a little more compassion and empathy when we're working with a care team than we may be receiving. Um, because that will only improve the care that you receive and will help you um, as you deal. You can go to the next slide. Okay, we can just stop right here. Um, some of the tips that I want to discuss when you partner with your doctor, of course, we said is make that list of questions. Make sure you can document your answer so you can understand. Always make sure you can get a copy of your summary at the end. Even if they don't have it done when you leave the visit, you can always call to see if they can email that to you. If you have a portal, make sure somebody can use your portal so you can always go back over the notes if you can't remember what was addressed. Or if you're like me, sometimes I can't read my own handwriting. So make sure you have that. So whether you're using a notepad or whether you're relying on this system that you have the answers to the questions that you've asked. Bring a list of everything the person with dementia is taking. So any kind of prescription medications, over-the-counter products, vitamins, supplements, all of that good stuff. Make sure you have that list with you at all times. Whether you've seen your regular doctor, you've seen a new doctor, you've seen a specialist for something else that's going on, you want to make sure they always know what you're taking and everything that you're taking. To make sure no other reactions happen, because sometimes medicines aren't good when we mix, so that's a normal thing we do. Always be open and honest with your doctor, no matter what. It can be scary, especially if you don't understand something or you don't understand what the doctor is saying. Make sure you can ask for clarification so you can understand. So be honest with them. If you're not honest with your doctor, if you're not understanding your doctor, you need to go ahead and tell them then, address it then. Make sure they can take the time to explain it to you, work with you. Make sure you are comfortable and confident with you. Make sure you have your support person with you too, so they can reiterate or re-explain what's going on. And make sure you clarify the purpose for any test being done. You want to understand what's going on with that. I'm hitting the wrong thing. I had to put mine all the way back to page 1. Okay, we can go to the next slide. And those were just a couple of tips when you're seeing a new doctor. Just make sure you have your questions and you understand what's going on. Make sure they take the time with you. We have approaches to different treatments right here, and it kind of lets us know the treatments that are out there, trial matches. Standard treatments, only FDA-approved treatments will be used. We begin forming a healthcare team, so that was everybody that we mentioned to begin with. Is there another bullet? Clinical trial involvement, and like I said, we have an Alzheimer's Association trial match program, which can help you match you with trials that best meet you, your needs, your symptoms, and it's free. Sorry. And there we go, approaches to our treatment. So using our trial match, this free service eases the process of finding a clinical trial, and it helps you kind of identify one that's closest to you and works the best for you. The specially trained staff helps narrow results so that the chances of enrollment are higher, because this is something that typically you have to be picked for, approved for. They'll look at you, look at your case, and see what's going on and see if you are a good fit for the trial. The education will be available about what the clinical trial entails and what to expect, so you will know everything up front before you actually decide you want to go forward with being in the trial. They let you know that it's transparent, because that's what we want, is transparency whenever we're looking at a treatment or a trial. And we have our toll-free helpline and ask for a trial match specialist. So we have our alls.org trial match, and I can have this up for us afterwards, and our 1-800 number, which is a helpline. And both of these are free resources. We can go to the next one. So, family and friends on the team. So, we want to make sure we disclose diagnosis with what's going on. We don't want to think of it as a shameful thing. We don't want to be ashamed of it. We want to take ownership of what is going on, our diagnosis, and this is who we are. We're going to be working on our new normal and our acceptance of this disease. As I said, this disease does not define us. We can still have our normal and still work towards our normal while navigating this disease. And that is for our person with our Alzheimer's and our care partner. So neither one of you should feel the shame or guilt or feel embarrassment for having a disease that you're going to have to work through and you'll be experiencing with. You don't want to create social isolation for yourself. You want to make sure you keep an open community with your family, friends, and work. If you would like to still work, many people still continue to work for as long as they possibly can, which is something that really helps because it's something they enjoyed. It was a routine for them. And any major disruptions in our routine can cause us distress, can make things worse, can make us feel worse. So we want to keep our lives normal. We don't want to have big disrupts. We don't want to cut out things that are normal. We want to continue to do these things, live with these things, and experience these things. Let's see here. We can go to the next slide. And again, I'm going to message to see if we can get these links so we can kind of watch these videos and responses too. Family and friends, not all family and friends will adjust the way they need to. They'll need their time and they will come around when they get to it, when they process it, when they deal with it. And sometimes we don't always have all of that supportive family. You know, some people may not want to feel or associate, which is not what we want. We want people to end stigmas. We want people to be open. We want people to be learning and be educated and understand what's going on. We need them to understand that this may be a significant change for us and that we're going through it, but we would appreciate them still being in our lives and helping with everything that's going on, that it's not just a big game changer. So making sure we have that education and making sure we can advocate for ourselves and let people know what's going on and let them understand instead of taking that shame or guilt or feeling embarrassment about it, we can make sure they understand and maybe that can help them cope as well while y'all are coping. Making sure those open lines of communications are there, taking that initiative to make sure people understand, you to understand, your care partner understands, and your family, friends, work, coworkers, etc. understand. Keeping your gathering small and simple. Closeness. You want people that are there for you, close with you. You don't want to be overstimulated and overwhelmed. Some people still like to plan those big parties and have big gatherings, but it can sometimes wear you down and be overwhelming. Just kind of keeping them small, intimate, can kind of help you relax and have a better time and enjoy what's going on and what you're doing. We can to the next slide. And that's just discussing more family adjustments, how they dealt as a family. This is going on with family and friends that are on the team, family, friends, how they meet together, still continue to have those meetings, still to continue to have those small gatherings. And you can also help discuss how to provide the best care with a person with Alzheimer's. There is another link. I'm going to have to get that for the 10 ways to help a family living with Alzheimer's. So that is another link, another reading that we're going to have to get. We can go on. Family, friends, work meetings. So continue to have those family, friends meetings, gatherings, going out to lunch, doing things you enjoy together. Not just cutting them off and stopping that intimacy, because you have intimacy with more than just your partner. You have intimacy with your friends, your family, your coworkers. Everything is a intimate thing, a social thing. Making sure we have the appropriate disclosures, make the changes that we needed, whether they are major or smaller. We can go on. time and disclosures at work. That's an important thing. You want to make sure that you understand what's going on, have time to process it, and be able to answer questions, because coworkers, your boss, your people that you're working with may not quite understand what's going on, may not understand the disease, and may have questions, may want to know what this means. That's something you're going to have to process, talk with your doctor about, talk with your spouse about, your care partner. Make sure you're able to address and answer questions to the best of your ability. So, kind of disclosing it at work, you want to make sure you're comfortable and confident with yourself to answer these questions and not feel embarrassed or feel guilty about that as well, because it's not an embarrassing thing. This is more with your community care team. It's kind of letting you know your healthcare community, the community resources that you'll have, whether it's the agency, clergy, geriatric care managers, legal and financial professionals, the Alzheimer Association like us. There is also a Dementia Alliance in North Carolina as well, that offer resources and stuff too. We can go to the next one. Using community resources. So like I said, volunteering is still an awesome thing to do. Never too old to volunteer, never too young to volunteer, and you can always keep that up. It's something that makes you feel good. It's something that makes you feel a part of something bigger, a working part of the community, and you can continue to always do that. Social programs, so that's getting out with different things that they offer. Like in Rockingham, the Hive is offering a pottery class, different little things that they do with social programs where you can get out and interact with people. Is awesome, and you can learn new skills, and it stimulates your mind, so it's always helping you learn and think. Counseling is a great thing because it helps give us that third person, that outside person that is biased, that can listen to both of you to help you work through problems and help you build your relationship as things change. And we have our Alzheimer's Association. We have support groups that you can locate through the website, our helpline, and we have an online community. And then we have First Health over here that have your local support groups. So you stop by her booth over there, First Health, there's a local support group with y'all that they have been setting up. We can go to the next. And I think that's the last of this. So, okay. Any questions so far? Absolutely.
As far as support groups go, I know there's two. So, Robin, when is the Fox Hollow support group meet? So the first Tuesday of every month at 11 a.m. Wonderful. So what Robin has just said is that if you would like to get on the list for email or to be reminded when the support group meets, you can call Fox Hollow, and the phone number is 910-695-0011. So thank you for that. And are you good? Do you want to look at the booths now? Is that okay? And then what Dana will do is she'll give me all those videos that we'll be able to upload on our Facebook page as links, as well as on our YouTube channel. And this way you can access them at. And so it looks like the microphone's going in and out as well. So thank you all so much for coming. And yes. In order to get to our YouTube channel, you can go to our Facebook page if you have Facebook, and we usually have our links there. In our newsletter, we have our Facebook and our YouTube channel link, but it's Moore County Senior Center. But if you go to, like I said, we now have, 1,000 followers on our Facebook page, so that's an awesome thing. We just reach that this week. But I know some people don't like Facebook, so they do YouTube. So that's why we have both to have, I'm going to change out the batteries real quick, but as well as be able to live stream these videos. I don't like doing Facebook Live. I would rather do the YouTube, because if we live stream on YouTube, then it automatically records and it sets as one of our videos. You do a Facebook Live, and I don't know if that actually records or not, but I've seen horror stories and things with people thinking that they're over and they're not, and things like that. So I'm just going to be doing YouTube live stream. So let's see, it looks like the microphone is still working. So if you want to take any questions, that would be great. I'm going to go check to see if there's any live chats with any questions, and we can go from there.
I do want to say thank you. I thank y'all for bearing with me. Like I said, 8th grade is my typical audience to present with, even though I've worked with my agent population for quite a while. So there's a little of that. So I do thank y'all for bearing with me. I thank y'all for coming out and getting the information, because it's something so imperative to have to understand. So for now, if there's any questions, we can take any questions. So, oh, absolutely. So you're fine. It's fine. It's a lot of information. It's a lot of information in a short amount of time. So when we are looking at family members that may be a little reluctant or hesitant to address a family member that may be showing issues, showing problems that you may be a little concerned about, sometimes it's hard for everybody to get on the same page, especially if they're not all directly involved in day-to-day life, or if they're not around frequently. It can cause a little bit of issues, and it can cause a little bit of rift within the family, and you're like, oh, this is normal age, and you're like, no, that's not their normal. It can be a little bit of a hard time. So when you can finally get together, come together, and even if everybody never kind of comes to a full agreement, you do what's best. You address it with your family member, your loved one, you talk to them, you let them know your concerns, and the typical first step would be to see your primary, your physician. They'll discuss that with you. They'll look at it. They'll send you for any tests. They'll have you answer questionnaires. And they'll kind of discuss with you the steps that you need to take and what they think you need to do to address the issue. And if you quite don't get the issue, the questions resolved there, you feel like you're kind of in the dark still or behind, or feel like you're not being addressed appropriately, you can always reach out to different physicians. You can get a second opinion. You can look within your community health. Some of our community health programs will offer things for dementia or Alzheimer's, especially if it's suspected. I think it's Sandhills out here, but I'm not sure. I'm not sure if Sandhills does that, but they kind of look into stuff like that when it comes to cognitive or mental things, as well as anything of that sort. Do you have something to add?
So first starting with a primary care physician and addressing any questions or concerns with the primary care person. And then in that meeting, asking for a referral for an assessment, for a neuropsych assessment here in Moore County. We have a couple of professionals who do a wonderful job. Then also Another avenue would be asking for a referral for a neurologist. If, the person who is experiencing some cognitive changes is resistant to a neuropsych assessment, another avenue you can ask through that primary care physician is referral to neurologists.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Lindsay. Any questions that I kind of addressed what you were looking for? Okay. Anybody else have any questions so far? Yes, ma'am. So that is a common concern. So when we have people who are taking care of their spouses or their kids or their children, and they are experiencing burnout, they're getting worn down, but they are reluctant to take on extra help, it can be difficult for them to allow somebody to come in and do what they feel is their role or their place. Because they feel like that is their job, and sometimes people have a hard time relinquishing that, and a lot of people do not like others to come into their home and work with them and touch their things or cook meals or help clean up while they take a break. And a lot of people kind of feel that it's selfish for them to do that. It's selfish for them to want to have that time for themselves. It's kind of just continuing to work with that person, discuss the options that they have. They may can start with having somebody come in while they are present, and they may be in a different room. They may be taking a break. They may be taking a nap, just a shower, stuff like that. It could start off with something simple like that, having somebody come in for an hour or two if they qualify. Having a different family friend come in that they trust, if they can find somebody else that they trust and want to come in and help. It just takes time, some open communication, and kind of discussing that with the family as well as their community care team that they have around them and seeing what resources are available too. And sometimes a little bit of counseling can help as well to help them realize and deal with the guilt or shame that they may be feeling that they cannot have time for themselves. And be able, I was just about to ask.
Well, I used to work in home care before I took this position 9 years ago. And the one thing that we would always try is maybe two things. One is, since it's you and your sister that are local, maybe what you can do as a present is get somebody from a home care agency to come in while your mom is there, like you were just saying. And it's a present, but she's there. Maybe one of you are there as well, and they get to know each other. Because what I've always found is the hardest thing is because the generation that you're speaking of, I'm sure, is the greatest generation there ever was, and they are not used to asking for help. They're used to helping others, and they will go until they're nubs on the floor, and that's just the way that works. But if you can explain to your mom, we know you love your dad or her husband very much, but the facts are that it's about 70% or higher that the caregiver winds up passing away first because they exhaust themselves. They don't take care of themselves because they're worrying about your medicine. They're worrying about your doctor appointment. They're not feeling well, but they know they've got to cook and clean and get you here and get you dressed. And if you explain that to her and say, if you're gone, who's going to take care of dad? This is a gift for you in a way, but it's also a gift for dad. And it's a gift for me and your sister. So if you can talk to her that way on an emotional note, there's also another thing that you can do is with Alveda and with the Moore County Department of Aging, we do have a program that's respite care. And she may qualify for that if it's anybody in Moore County who is caring for somebody with a cognitive issue. They can get up to 30 hours of free respite care. And that's a way to try on. We partner with licensed and bonded home care agencies in the area. And that's a way for you to try on an agency. And then possibly if you set it up for the same time every month, you can get the same caregiver. And that way it can start a relationship with her and with him. And you just never know. There was one time we had respite care for a mom and the daughter who were going to Fayetteville for the day for some shopping spree. And we had a caregiver brought in, and she was Spanish speaking. And they said, well, he's not going to talk to anybody, and I don't think he likes anybody Spanish speaking. And so I don't know what the day is going to be. And I said, well, I'll be there when we're introducing everybody and making sure that it's okay when you leave, that he's okay with her in the house. And then I left for the day. Well, the next day I called and followed up with the wife. She said when she came home, it was to her surprise that she had lived with this man for I don't know how many years, and he is speaking Spanish to this woman because at some point he had learned Spanish over the years and she had never known. So, and the woman was named Angelica, and that's exactly what she was. She was an angel, and it was just an amazing match in heaven, and you just never know what's going to happen. So I would recommend those two things. You could either do the respite care and try the person on for size, or you could actually ask your mom about having somebody come in, and helping her will really help you and your dad in the long run. So those are my two suggestions, but no, thank you.
And I do want to build off of the communication part. That is something that's super important, to make sure you establish that dialogue, talk to them, get to know them, let them know the norms, let them know your partners with Alzheimer's norms, what your norms are, what you kind of expect, and building that relationship, getting that relationship established does take work and can take time, but it is awesome once you establish it. And when you do have that steady caregiver and you get the same caregiver each time, it is awesome. So one of the best things to do is when you have that caregiver come in is they get to know you, they make sure they know your routines, they know what you want, they're predictive, they can establish these things before you need to even ask for them or address them. So that's great. I just wanted to build off that. That was awesome. Is there any other questions? Did that help address your? Yeah. Yeah. So when we have people that just shut down, they automatically feel done. It's a part of when they start grieving. They automatically feel like their life is over, things have changed for the extreme, and trying to talk to them and get them to work through what they're feeling. The support of family helps you continue to address and reassure and make sure that you are giving them the opportunity to make decisions, being there for them, but kind of backing off to help them still make their decisions, ask their questions, and deal with their daily lives and their normal daily functions is helpful. It's good that they are still practicing and being involved in some of these social events, but kind of shutting down and not wanting to do their norm and do their daily routine can be difficult. And one of the things, if they're not comfortable with directly speaking with y'all about it, or they feel more weak or feel worried or scared about how others are going to approach them when they discuss their feelings, it may be great to have somebody outside discuss with them as well to help them work through it, and have that regularly, whether that is a community support group or therapy, counseling, or just somebody that they really trust, whether it's a physician or a family friend or somebody that they do trust, to kind of talk to them and help them through that. But continuing to be supportive is great. Continuing to do those things, but kind of backing off to let her know that it's still okay to have that control over your life, that it's not over, that you need to make these decisions. It's great for you. It's healthy for you. Does anybody have anything else to add that I may be missing?
If she looks at independent one and living right now, and she got the diagnosis. The doctor real? Was that real? No problem, you know. So I have the opposite. Since she lives in a line, I had no doctor. Well, Florida.
Yeah.
Because I'm 6 months away.
Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, it's the opposite of not wanting.
More than willing to give it all up. Yeah, I mean, it is hard. I mean, some people are able, when they feel done and they do feel defeated, they will just relinquish. They kind of just, they throw their hands up. And you see that a lot with people that have this diagnosis. You see that a lot with people that end up coming to long-term care and they just relinquish everything. They're just like, I'm done. You do it. We have people that wouldn't even want to get out of bed no more, that would become bedbound quickly because they lose that motivation, because they don't have that support system. And you really need that strong, steady support system, because it helps to continue to bring you to do your things that you normally do. It gives you that motivation, that independency. And what I hear is that she did live very independent, and she was very independent. The diagnosis made her feel like she's lost something. So it's something that she's struggling with, she's grieving with, and that she does need a lot of family support, a lot of encouraging support to continue to do those things and still have control. But she also probably needs to follow up with some counseling or a support group that'll help address her needs and help her see somebody outside maybe that can help her.
I'm kind of a all around town kind of girl because I also worked at St. Joe's for a couple of years. And I do know they have a wonderful team. And the activity director there, if you could reach out to her and explain the situation, and maybe that person can actually, when they're setting up to do an event, maybe they can actually kind of outreach to her to attend, encourage. They also have a wonderful volunteer program where residents, like some residents take over the library, some residents take over the movie selections and things like that. Maybe you can appeal to the activity director there to ask if there is a volunteer group that would be willing to maybe not take her under their wing as like their buddy forever, but maybe somebody that might encourage her to attend something that might interest her. And this way they're acting as a friend coming over and, hey, Betty, or whatever her name is. And it's not, I'm a caretaker to you. It's somebody that's wanting to encourage type of a thing. And this, they also have a chaplain there, whether it's a woman or a man, I don't know. And that might be a great addition to either somebody that you might be able to go to as a social worker, or somebody who's a, I don't know, somebody who does psychology. But if it's a clergy person there, maybe that person can be the person that they talk to, because they might see them in the hallway a lot more than going to a therapist or something like that. Yes. Yes.
put her on the calendar, have this conversation, to give her purpose where she has something to look forward to, something to practice for. I work in assisted living, so we have a lot of our residents will run activities like we have, college theater production in play. We have another lady that plays piano. There's another group that moves the mic and stuff. So giving her something, we know what they not she crafts, she really crafts, she really what she do that gives her that purpose of you still passionate. And that's what she just get up for purpose. And you help her time.
And we just had some input from Robin Hutchins from Fox Hollow Senior Living, saying pretty much going to the activities director and saying that my mom had a talent such as this. Is there a way that she could possibly do that as a performance, or can we put that on the calendar type of a thing? And as far as outings, I think I heard you say earlier that she's kind of afraid to go on field trips. Well, she might be afraid that she's going to be lost because she won't know how to do it on her own. So maybe there's a way, once again, you can talk to the activity director, and maybe there's a resident there who'd be willing to be her partner for the day if they're going to a movie or a store or something like that. And that might encourage her to actually get out and be more social as well. Just, it's kind of like, to me, I put it in simplest terms of having like a little kid, and the little kid is at school. And I know for me, I was very, very shy. I know it's hard to believe, but I really was. And I never wanted to be part of dance class or anything else because I was afraid. And if it was only a chance to say, well, if you just go once and see what it's like and maybe encourage that, you don't have to go again, but just try it once. I'm sure if I tried it once, I would have stayed. So it's one of those things. And I know it's odd because it's your parent to think of them as the kid. But if you don't think of them in terms of a kid, but if you think of when you have a little kid and you're encouraging them to go to day camp, or you're encouraging them to do this, that, or the other thing, it's just those little tricks in your mind of what you used to do to kind of help them through it. And that's all it is. And it's hard sometimes when you're the child and you're used to having them help you, and now all of a sudden it's reversed. And that's definitely hard. And at the same time, they're grieving the loss of the person that they once were. You're grieving the loss of the mom or the dad that you once knew, even though they're still alive. And that's the hardest part, because they are still here. When you have a loss of somebody, they pass away, that's a hard thing to get over, but they're not here anymore. So in a way, it's a lot easier than to see them all of a sudden they're declining and they're not the person that they once were, and they never will be. So it's hard on everybody. So it's just a matter of trying to make it easier on yourself and trying to think of ways to make it easy on them, because it must be very scary to get that diagnosis and know, oh my God, I'm afraid. Every day they have to be afraid. And that's just really, you got to think about that. And so when you're approaching them, it's hard not to say, I already told you, we already took that pill. It's very easy to get into that routine. But if you just can kind of maybe think a little bit more about what they're going through and how scary that is, it might be a little easier then for you in dealing with them. And I'm not an expert really in anything other than being around seniors for a long time, but these are the things that I've just learned, and I just feel for people, and had a mom with dementia, so I understand in that way. But anyway, does anybody else have any questions for Dana?
When it comes to somebody that is in an early stage still and they're needing to come to terms and be able to start sharing their diagnosis, whether they got their diagnosis by themselves or if they had somebody with them that helped them while they received that diagnosis, it's kind of a process to start on their own. You'll be there with them. The care partner will be there with them. Their physician can help. The nurses can help with questions they may have to begin with. A lot of the times when people first get this diagnosis is they want to make sure they know everything they can. They want to know what's going on. They want to understand what's going on with them, and making sure they start understanding and the family or the care partner starts understanding and can help them work through it is some of the first steps. Just having that support that you need and letting it be consistent, letting it be encouraging, and then helping them understand that it is not something to be embarrassed about, is some of the ways to start with that. Just making sure they're not being shamed right off or not feeling that shame right off really helps. And just keeping that communication open with them. And sometimes people need a little bit more coaxing to start talking about it. And that can come from your family helping them work through that, whether they're getting community support with community supports that they have out here, or whether they're getting counseling to start working with it, because some people may handle it harder because it is like learning about yourself as you're not as you once were. There are changes, and there will continue to be changes, and it'll continue to progress. So it's kind of just making sure they are comfortable and understand at first what's going on, so they can kind of start. Because some people may want you to tell them for them, but sometimes it's a little easier whenever they can come around and start telling people themselves, and they feel less guilt or shame about it when they can discuss it first themselves instead of just the care partner going ahead and telling people. Sometimes it's a little easier when they're able to address it themselves. Does anybody have anything else to add? Yeah, that is great. People do tend to be a little bit more empathetic when they know what's going on, but some people still will associate with stigma, which can be unfortunate. And the thing is to make sure you still treat them as they are, as an adult, instead of treating them differently or childlike, because that can help kind of keep them away from wanting to discuss it or let people know what's going on too, if they feel like they're going to start being treated differently or being treated like a child. So you want to make sure that the dignity is intact, and like you said, that they make the decision who they want to start telling first. Let that be an open part of communication with your care partner, who you're talking to, so you can see who you want to discuss with this first, who you want to let know first, and how you want to let them know. All right, does anybody else have any other questions or concerns? Thank everybody for coming out, and make sure y'all check out all these great resources that we have back here. The adaptive living, that is awesome. It's something I loved when I started working in a locked unit in Monroe. She has great things over there that helps with coping in your own home, and making sure you can stay home healthier and longer too. And we have some other great things back here too to make sure you stop and see what resources are available for y'all here in West End.
Thank you so much. And yes, for the Sandhills Adaptive Living for Christine Abbott, she was actually an occupational therapist, local. And so she always dealt with people who had falls, and then she's trying to help them get back to walking. And she finally realized, I want to do something on the prevent side. So now she started this business, and but then started doing how to create a dementia-friendly home. So she's certified in that, and it's she's done presentations here before on that, and that's very interesting. So there is lots of information, lots of resources in Moore County, and like I said, this is the gateway to it. Alveda has a huge amount of resources available to you, and like I said, it's not only in Moore County, but she could have resources for you in other counties and other states. So if your family member is in another state, we can help with that as well. So thank you all so much for coming. Thank you for coming in the back, representing the tables that you do. And I hope you have a wonderful day. And thank you so much to Dana. So thank you. Bye-bye now.